Guys, good afternoon. All right, let's start the class. So we have discussed the we have already discussed two classes regarding economic survey, and we have discussed the most important data. Today, what we will do is we will be starting with volume 2, chapter number 10. All right, volume 2, chapter number 10. Chapter name: Social Infrastructure. Employment and Human Development. All right. Chapter name: Social Infrastructure, Employment and Human Development. So first is trends in social sector expenditure. Trends in social sector expenditure. Now, before telling you about how much has been the expenditure in social sector, or I can say like expenditure in social services. First of all, let me tell you what is included in social services. All right. So you need to write this. That social services it includes expenditure. It includes expenditure on education, sports, art and culture, medical and public health, family welfare, water supply and sanitation, water supply and sanitation, housing, urban development. Along with that is it also includes welfare of SC, STs and even OBCs. Labor and labor welfare, that is expenditure on labor and labor welfare. Labor and labor welfare. Social security, nutrition, and relief because of natural calamities. Many times in prelims, they'll ask the question, which of them is included or which of them is not included in social services. All right. Then, if I talk about social services, we can divide it broadly into three categories: education, health, and others. Education, health and other. When I say education, education here means education, sports, and art and culture. When I say health, it includes medical and public health, family welfare, water supply and sanitation. Water supply and sanitation. All right. Now, this social sector expenditure as a percentage of GDP, in 2014-15, say around 5 to 6 years back, it was 6.2% of GDP. But in the year 2021, the social sector expenditure, it has become 8.8%. Education, it has increased from 2.8 to 3.5%. So currently we are spending in the year 2021 3.5% of GDP on education, while in the year 14-15 we were spending 2.8% of GDP. Similarly, if I talk about health in 2021, on health, we are spending 1.8% of GDP. While in 14-15, we were spending 1.2% of GDP. And if I talk about the social sector expenditure as a percentage of total expenditure. Social sector expenditure as a percentage of total expenditure, it has increased from 23.5% to 26.5%. All right, so currently it is 26.5% as a proportion of total expenditure. So if the government is spending 100 rupees, 26.5% is being spent on social sector. On education, government is spending 10.4% of total expenditure. On health, government is spending 5.4% of total expenditure. Others, it is 10.7. Then, so this was about social sector. Now let's move to human development. Human development. India's rank in 2019 was 131. In the year 2018, India's rank was 129. Now, we know in human development there are three different parameters, right? First is life expectancy at birth, right? If health is the indicator, we have life expectancy, which is the parameter. India's life expectancy in the year 2019. All right, all these parameters will be from 2019 perspective. India's life expectancy is 69.7 years. Education. We have mean years of schooling and expected years of schooling. This mean years of schooling for us is 6.5 years, and expected years of schooling is 12.2. While GNI per capita it is rupees 6681, not rupees, $6681 per capita, and this will be as per purchasing power parity exchange rate of 2017. In 2017, the purchasing power exchange rate was around $1 equal to 20 rupees. Let me check the exact number. 20.65. So we'll take it 20. So as per PPP exchange rate, our exchange rate is $1 equal to 20 rupees. Now see this. If we compare as compared to 2018, all right? If we compare as compared to 2018, the life expectancy has increased from 69.4 to 69.7. It has increased. The mean years of schooling, it is still same 6.5. Expected years of schooling is still same 12.2. And the GNI per capita, it has also increased from 6.4 to $7 per capita per year. So point is, when two of our parameters, they have improved, two parameters are same, why is that India's ranking has gone down? India's ranking has gone down because other countries, they have made more progress. It's not that India has gone down. It's because that other countries, they have fared well. Other countries, they have performed better as compared to India. All right. And if I talk about HDI, HDI value for India in 2018 was 0.642, which has now increased to 0.645. Our HDI has increased. And the same HDI in 1990, it was just 0.429. And in 1990, our life expectancy was 57.9. Our main years of schooling were just 3. Expected years of schooling was 7.6. And this per capita income, it was just 1787. Then look, India's growth rate in HDI from 2010 to 2019, the growth rate has been 1.21% per year. So India's annual FDI growth rate in this time period is 1.21% per year, and the same rate during 2000 to 2010, it was 1.58%. So India's growth rate in HDI has actually reduced. Earlier we were growing by 1.21% every year. Now we are growing by just 1.58% every year. All right. But if we compare our growth rate in HDI in this time period as well as in this time period, our growth rate in HDI is better than the growth rate of BRICS countries, other BRICS countries. That is HDI. Now let's move to quality education. Now, if I talk about number of universities in India, number of universities in India are 993. This is data for 2018-19. Number of colleges, 39,931. You can take it to be 40,000. This you can take it to be 1,000. Exact number 3993. Secondary and senior secondary schools. Secondary and senior secondary schools. Look, secondary schools, it means up to 10th. Senior secondary means 12th. Elementary school means up to 8th. So our secondary and senior secondary schools, that is up to 10th and 12th level, they are 2.76 lakhs. And our primary and upper primary schools, that is elementary schools, also called as primary and upper primary, they are 12.37 lakhs. But then point is, as India's population will be growing old after 20-30 years, we'll have to close down a lot of primary and upper primary schools. Because currently we have a lot of population in this age group who are below 10, who are below 15. But then we like we saw it in the previous class that our total fertility rate is coming out to be 2.2. And in certain states like Punjab, Himachal, it has already come to 1.6. If earlier it was like 2.7, the TFR, now if TFR has become 1.6, so earlier we required more number of schools, now we are requiring less number of pre-primary and primary schools. You getting my point? So in future, it's quite possible we'll have to close down these schools, and instead of these schools, we'll have to open old age homes. All right. Then. Then let's talk about percentage of literates. I'll share an incident with you before coming to this. So, like as I'm putting up these videos on YouTube also, right? Like comics videos I'm putting on YouTube. And obviously from this, the students, they can see that I can like talk to you guys. And like nowadays you're not switching on the cameras, but you can talk, you can speak. So in the morning I was taking class at some other institution. So those students, they asked me, sir, that do you give access of microphone to students also in Kerala? So I said yes. So they were like very surprised. How can it happen? That how can access be given? Because in that institution access is not given. Reason is if we give access, students will shout, come and shout anything. So in that way you are like quite disciplined, quite well behaved. Good job, shabash. If I talk about percentage of literates, the highest percentage of literates are in general category. If we go by category wise, all right, it is 91%. For OBC, it is 84.4. For SC, 80.3. And for ST, it is 77.5. It is for males. And if you go by females, the same number becomes 61.5, 63.9, 68.9, 80.6. So you see this, in STs, the difference between male and female is how much? It is 16. But for general category, it is only 9%. So the difference between literacy rate of men and women, it keeps on increasing as we keep on moving from general to OBC to SC and to ST. All right. And if we go by percentage of literates religion wise, first one is Christianity, where 88% of male population is literate and 82 of female population is literate. Second is Sikh, where it is like 87 and 76. Hindu, 85, 70. Islam, 80, 69. Hardly any difference. We say Hindus are like very forward looking, very literate. Islam, Muslims, not that literate, that they keep their women in the houses. Only 1% difference in the literacy rate in women of Hindus and Islam and Hindus and Muslims. Not at all a difference, right? All right, then let's continue. Now, India's literacy rate at elementary level. At elementary level, India's literacy rate has gone 96%. And if we see the attendance ratio, of the people in the age group of 18 to 23. When I say attendance ratio, it means out of total people in this age, total people in this age, how many are attending or going to schools? How many are going to school or college? How many going to school or college, right? So in this case of attendance, in the age group of 18 to 23, obviously the first rank goes to Kerala. Highest attendance ratio is of Kerala, which is 47. Who is at the second place? Can you tell me? Who can be at the second place? Second place is Jammu and Kashmir, 46. Any idea who is at number 3? UP, 44. Number 4 is Himachal. Minimum, obviously, you know. Minimum is Odisha. But you know, to my surprise, yeah, who is the second last? Second last is Gujarat. Just 20. Odisha is 18. Gujarat is even below Bihar. Gujarat is below Assam. Gujarat is below Jharkhand. All right. Then Let's now move to skill development. Skill development. Look, I'll make little bit of changes. Okay. So that mistake is there in my book also. So I'll just tell you to rectify it. All right. Look, we have total population. Then we have working age population. Working age population are what? People in the age group of 15 to 59. Who are included in this? People who are employed, people who are unemployed. Who are unemployed people? Unemployed people are those people who want to work but are not getting work. And then we have people in this age group who are students, housewives. All right. People who just do not want to work. This is working age population. In this, India's total population is 135 crores. In this, number of employed people are 48.78 crores. And number of unemployed people are 3.04 crores. If we add both of them, employed people plus unemployed people, it comes out to 51.82 crores. And this, people who are employed plus unemployed together, they are called labor force. They are called labor force. All right. In my book, what I have done is I have kept labor force and working age population as same. They are not same. Labor force is that part of working age population which is either working or is looking for work. These people, students and all, that do not come in labor force. And obviously, people who are below 15, people who are below 15, above 59, as such, they are not in labor force. And people of this age group, 15 to 59, who are students, housewife, or who do not want to work, even they do not form part of labor force. Now, there is a formula called LFPR, labor force participation rate. Again, in this, there is a mistake. And this LFPR, it is defined in two different ways. If I talk about India, in India's case, we are defining labor force participation rate as labor force divided by total population. So how much is India's labor force? 51.82 crores. Total population is 135 crores. India's LFPR is coming out to be 37.5. So India's LFPR is 37.5%. In that, female LFPR is 18.6 and male LFPR is 55.8. That is, if we take those women who are employed, if we take those women who are unemployed and divided by total women population, all right, total females who are employed plus total females who are unemployed divided by total females in India, that is female labor force participation rate. And if we do it for total male population, that is male employed plus male unemployed divided by total male population, that is called LFPR for males. All right. Now, if we take the definition of ILO, International Labour Organization, as per ILO, LFPR is labor force divided by working age population. All right. LFPR as per ILO is labor force divided by working age population, while in India's case, LFPR is labor force divided by total population of the country. Is it all right? Now. If I talk about skills, only 2.4%. Only 2.4% the people who are employed, all right? The people who are employed, they are called workforce. All right. So how much workforce we have? Our workforce is 48.78. We'll take it say 49%, 49 crores. So India's workforce is around 49 crores. In this 49 crores, there are only 2%, 2.4% of people who have received a formal training. A formal vocational or technical training. All right. And then another 9%. Another 9%, so 2.4% this, another 9% of this 49 crores, they have received training from informal sources. They have received training through informal sources. All right. Then, out of this 9%, the largest is contributed by on-the-job training, OJT. On-the-job training, which is like 3.3%. Then is self-learning. खुद ही सीख लिया. Self-learning, which is 2.5%. Look, when I say on-the-job training, what is on-the-job training? It's like suppose there was a painter, and painter he got an assistant. So the assistant he generally he worked with the painter, he helped him But from the painter, gradually he learned the tricks of the trade. He learned various things, how to mix colors, how to bring a particular texture. That is called on-the-job training. So this assistant, he hasn't received any formal training. There's no vocational or technical training. He has received training through informal sources, which is on-the-job training. Other is self-learning, YouTube, WhatsApp. All right. Then we have hereditary sources. Hereditary sources, which is 2.1%. All right. Now this 2.4% is for the age group of 15 to 59. But if we talk about youth population, that is 15 to 29, for this age group, it is 2.8, means hardly any difference, but still better. Now, I told you formal training, how much people got formal training? 2.4, right? In this formal training, the best or the most opted training source, in this is IT or IT enabled services. All right, most opted courses IT or IT enabled services. And then is second is electrical power and electronics. Because you say this IT and IT enabled services, they can work in call centers. Electric power and electronics, they can work where they can work in mobile repair, mobile manufacturing. Third is mechanical engineering. Now they are for males. No, for males. For males, this is the case. For females, first is IT and IT enabled services only. So whether it is males or females, the first preference is this. But for females, the second option is textiles. Textiles, handloom, apparels. And then is office related work like front desk. Office related work, which is like front desk work, reception and all. Then now as per PLFS survey, the workforce is how much? 48.78 crores. This is as per PLFS 18-19. But if we see PLFS of 17-18, the workforce was 47.14 crores. So in 1 year, there has been an increase of how much? 1.64 crores. So in 1 year, the workforce increased by 1.64 crores. And in this 1.64 crores, 1.22 crore was in rural areas and 0.42 in urban areas. This was the increase. And out of this 1.6, 0.92 was added in females and 0.72 in males. Now, how much will go again to this number? How much of the people are employed? 48.78 crore. All right. So out of total people in India, 135 crore total population, 48.7 crore are employed, 3 crores unemployed. Total labor force is how much? 15.82. It is actually 3.04. All right. So we'll keep it to like 52 crores. We have 52 crore people who are working. Now, in this 52 crores, the largest share is of agriculture, which is contributing how much? 21.5 crores. If we go by the workforce employment, it is employing 41.5 and total people employed are what? 48.78, right? So we will not go from this. Out of 48.78 crore people employed in India, 21.5 crore are employed in agriculture, which contributes 42.5% of the workforce, say 43% of workforce. All right. Then second one in this is other services. So now what is the services they haven't mentioned? Second is other services. Probably what I feel from other services is maybe retailers, traders, all that. So other services, it's employing 6.4 crore people, which comes out to 14% of workforce. Third one, manufacturing. Next, trade, hotel and restaurant. मैन्युफैक्चरिंग में है 12.1%, ट्रेड होटल्स में 12.6% और कंस्ट्रक्शन सेक्टर it's also 12%. For them need not remember the numbers, not required, not at all required, not at all required. Remember the number only for this. Now how much are total employed? 48.78, right? Total workforce is 48.78 crore. Look, this 48.78 crore they are employed. That doesn't mean they're employed for something else, someone else. It includes self-employed people also. So out of the total employed for 48.778, 25 crores are self-employed only. And then we have discussed that people they are going towards self-employment not because of choice, but because they do not have an alternative. As the people are not getting any work, they are not even getting casual work. Hence, they are going for self-employment. They'll open up their own shops and all. All right. So 25 crore is self-employed. 12 crores are people who are regular wage people, or we can say it to be salaried people. So see this, because of lockdown, who is getting regular salary? Only these people, 12 crore people are the people who are staying comfortably. 12 crore plus their families. We can add like one person and a family of 3. So just around say 40-45 crore people are living comfortably. Because of lockdown, remaining 90 crore people are suffering the problem. Because who are the self-employed? They are the people who are opening shops, establishments, pani puri wala, golgappe wala, noodles wala. And these people, they have big families. All right. Then 11.5 crores. All right. They are the people who are casual workers. I hope you understand what is casual worker. Casual worker who will be working as a painter for me, working as a laborer for me, housemaid. All right. Landless laborers, they are casual workers. All right. So the self-employment, it is contributing 52% to total employment. But the proportion of regular wage and salaried employed people is increasing for rural as well as urban areas both, and is increasing for males and females both. Look, whatever data I am telling you, all this data is from PLFS. PLFS 2018-19. So now when I'm saying that there's increase for rural and urban areas, increase for male and female, increase of regular and salaried employed, what does it mean? It means quality of employment is improving. Quality of employment is improving. All right. Now, there's one more thing which I would like to. There's one more thing which I would like to tell you is that I told you that total self-employed people are how much? 25 crores. In this 25 crores, 19 crore people are those who are on account workers, basically shopkeepers, on account workers and employer. But remaining 6 crore people are those who are helper, in household work, in household enterprise. For example, a husband and wife, they have opened up a shop. So the husband, he will be considered on account a worker and employer, but his wife will be considered just a helper in household enterprise. So even she would be considered employed. Even if she's sitting for 2 hours on the shop, she will be considered employed, but she is just a helper. All right. Then, if I talk about youth unemployment, youth unemployment was maximum in Arunachal Pradesh. Then Kerala, Manipur, Bihar. While youth unemployment was minimum in Gujarat, Karnataka, West Bengal, Sikkim. If I talk about unemployment rate in India, if I talk about unemployment rate, it is just 5.8%. Because you see this, how many people are unemployed? Some 3 crore people are unemployed. How much is the labor force? 51%. It should come out to 5.8. Yes, it's coming out to be same. So 5.8% is the unemployment rate in the country. All right. But if I talk about youth unemployment rate, that is between the people in the age group of 15 to 29, for them, the unemployment rate is 20%. That is a problematic thing. That unemployment rate in youth is 20%. Then labor reforms is it's already there in the book. You may use it. All right. Then let's move to gender dimension of employment. Gender dimension of employment. Look, guys, I would like to tell you that the economic survey is of around 1,000 pages. All right. You do not have to read it. You just take my notes. Do not do anything else because do not waste your time. I am using up my time just for this thing. All right. Like the previous two chapters which we have done, they are of some 180 pages, which I have covered in 2 days. The chapter which I have covered today, it is of how many pages? Let me tell you. It is from 326 to 367. 368. 326 to 368. Total 42 pages. So 42 pages I will be covering in 1 hour. All right. So you please do not read the book. You please do not read the economic survey. I am doing it. You just take the notes and do and learn them. That's it. Nothing else is required. Then is gender dimension of employment. If I talk about LFPR of females in the age group of 15 to 59, LFPR. It is how much? 26.5%. And if we are obviously seeing LFPR of total females, that is all females, then it is coming out to be 18.6%. This I have already told you, but obviously if we see the females in the working group, for them the LFPR is 26.5%. That is, if there are 100 women, there are only 25 women who are either working or are looking for work. And in this 25, there's only one girl who is not employed. 24, they are employed. Because what is the unemployment ratio for women? It is 6%, right? So it's around 1 and 24. So LFPR for women is 26.5% in this age bracket. But LFPR of males in this bracket is for females. Males in this bracket is 80%. That is, if we have 100 people, 100 men, out of them 8 men are either working or looking for work. Now, if I talk about urban women के अंदर 55% of them were employed in regular wage or salaried categories. Because obviously we know most of the women in cities, they're working only in those jobs which are permanent. But if we talk about rural women, things are quite different. 60% of rural women are self-employed. And even in this 60%, I say 60% were self-employed, 38% were working as, we have seen this part, right? This I have told you that we have self-employed. In this self-employed, we have two categories, right? On account workers and helpers, right? Now, in this 60% self-employed category, 38% were helper. Not 38% of this, but 38% of total. So total rural women, out of the total rural women, 38% of them are working as a helper. And why do women, they have low LFTR? Reason is most of the women, they are working or they are contributing more to domestic duties. LFPR is less because women are contributing more hours to domestic duties. All right. One more thing. This is the last thing for the day. Now, NSO, it conducted a time use survey. Time use survey in 2019. All right. It conducted a time use survey in 2019. Basically, this time use survey will be telling how men and males and females, they are spending their time in rural and urban areas. All right. It was found out that females, they are spending more time. They are spending more time in unpaid domestic services. Unpaid domestic services and unpaid caregiving services. Both are different, right? Domestic services means what? Cooking food, cleaning the house, cleaning the dishes. Unpaid caregiving kya hai? To take care of parents, to take care of kids. That's called caregiving. So they're spending more time in unpaid domestic services and unpaid caregiving services. Now, if I talk about employment related activities, all right, employment related activities, then in one day, a male was spending 470 minutes. A male was spending 470 minutes in employment related activities, but on the same side, female was spending 343 minutes per day. It's even 6 hours, it's 8 hours. That's the average. That's the average. All right. One thing which is very, very important is if I talk about unpaid domestic services or I talk about unpaid caregiving services, whether a woman is illiterate or a woman is secondary and above literate, the one who is not literate, she is spending 296 minutes in unpaid domestic services, but the one who is secondary and above, she is spending 295. The one who has read upper primary or middle, she is spending 308 minutes. And unpaid caregiving, the illiterate is spending 126 minutes, and secondary and above is spending 146 minutes. So what do I find out from this? That in case of illiterate women, even their husbands are illiterate, hence the husbands are contributing something in the caregiving, hence the time spent on unpaid caregiving is less. But the women who are little bit studied, secondary and above, their husbands are more literate, they are not giving even a single They're not spending a little bit in the house. Their unpaid secondary, unpaid caregiving services, time spent by women of who are secondary and above literate, they're spending more time, 146. So point is, the unpaid domestic service and unpaid caregiving service, it is not at all differentiating between whether a woman is literate or illiterate. Both are spending much more time as compared to men. Is it all right? So if I talk about unpaid domestic services, I told you in employment they are spending 470 and 343, right? If I talk about unpaid domestic services, men are spending 95 minutes, female are spending 315 minutes on an average. I'm not saying everyone, but on an average. And for unpaid caregiving services, men are spending 73, female are spending 137. Look, when I say domestic services, it includes food, meal management, what to cook, what not to cook, preparation. Caregiving services means what? We have already discussed. Means caregiving services like taking care of children, taking care of dependent adults, help to non-dependent adults. All right. So that completes your chapter number 10 of volume 2. All right. So next class we'll be doing chapter number 9 of volume 2, which will be about services sector. The chapter is very small. I'll try to cover industries and infrastructure also in the same chapter. All right. All right. That's it for today. I hope you learned a lot of things today. Okay. See you guys. See you.